Hey everyone, hope you guys are enjoying Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak in whichever platform you're choosing to play it on. And today I wanted to host a little bit of a discussion topic and something that is just kind of weird and out of nowhere, and that is the fact that essentially the question that I'm going to pose to everyone is, where the hell is Hazard Amatsu? Amatsu, of course, one of the free title update monsters, the last major one that we got pre-Primordial Malzeno. And the Hazard quest, the higher difficulty quest with new movesets and all of that, we know based on the data mines heading into the last part of the 4th free title update, heading into the 5th free title update, even before the bonus update, that there was going to be an Amatsu Hazard quest. It showed up in the files, it was something that we expected it to happen and be fully implemented, and most likely as we were getting the event quest for the bonus free title update, we expected this Hazard Amatsu quest, this higher difficulty Amatsu, to pretty much be the final quest that we ended up getting for Sunbreak as part of the bonus update. But of course, as all of the event quests are now live, we never ended up getting it. And the question is, well, what the hell ever happened to it? Well, interestingly enough, there's a post on the Monster Hunter subreddit. Huge shout out to Valstrax. Someone sent me a link to this thread, kind of like reminding me, are we actually going to talk about this thing? And I kind of wanted to, but I wasn't really sure, because for me personally, on my expectation on my end, I'm expecting Capcom to implement this quest at a later date, whenever that is. Maybe they're going to surprise us with something, and I could talk about that at the back end of the video, but my expectations are they're going to enable this at some point. But of course, that's not right now. So the question is, where are we with all of this? So this user essentially posts a thread and makes the question, well, what the hell ever happened to the quest? The quest is fully available in the game's files right now. So this is something that if you decide to play on PC on Steam, for example, with the latest patches and updates of Sunbreak, as the bonus update is available now to you guys, you should be able to actually mod that quest in and make it available. It's fully there, it's fully playable, but just it isn't live for everyone else, through the natural means of you downloading or enabling an event quest. Usually when you download an event quest, quote unquote, you're just downloading an access key to be able to have access to it. The data is already in the game's files. Once you updated your free title update or whatever, that's usually all the game files data already being there. It's just not enabled. So this user states basically that the quest is already in the game's files, but for whatever reason Capcom decided not to provide it, and that is basically kind of up in the air. It's an obscure reason, as they mentioned, as to why that is. There's plenty of Hazard quests that they started with Lucent, Nargacuga, the Risen Elders, Violet Mitsune, Lunagaron, Flaming Espinas, Garangolm. A bunch of monsters ultimately ended up getting Hazard quests, which for me personally, I thought they were very well implemented. Certainly some of them were better than others. Like the Rajang one was atrocious, for example. Both Rajangs, Furious Rajang and the normal Rajang, I didn't particularly find them good to have good quests like that. But other ones were better, like the Lucent Nargacuga or Violet Mitsune Hazard quests were certainly good. And we were expecting for something to happen for Amatsu, because again, it was something that we saw in the leaks. It's something that we know is available in the game's files, but Capcom, for whatever reason, didn't enable it. And as of right now, as of things stand at the beginning or heading into the second week of August, whenever this video goes live, we're done. We're not really expecting any more free DLC for Sunbreak. This is it. Now, of course, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC Windows players are expecting, all of the 4th, 5th, and 6th and bonus update to go ahead and drop, later this month. But as of right now, for everyone else, we're just kind of pretty much done with the game at this point. There's nothing else expected. And this is where Valstrax kind of suggests, hey, maybe the and this is, again, let me be very clear, this is just speculation. They're not a leaker or anything like that. They're just asking a question. Maybe Capcom could go ahead and implement it at a later date. And for me personally, like I said earlier in this video, that is what I'm also expecting. This is why I didn't necessarily want to touch this specific topic or talk about it, because for me personally, I'm expecting Capcom to go ahead and drop it at a later date. They specifically mentioned maybe implemented, later this month, or they mentioned next month because this was posted a few days ago, when the consoles version, Xbox, PlayStation, and Windows, matches up with Nintendo Switch and PC Steam. For me personally, I would expect Capcom to be a little bit more swift on this and try to be more slick. as we are expecting news at Tokyo Game Show in September for Monster Hunter 6, Monster Hunter World 2, Monster Hunter Paradise. Again, naming conventions aside, not really the point. The next mainline game, for them to reveal a couple of monsters, actually showcase Amatsu in that game, which would be really cool to actually do, and then say, oh, by the way, you know, at the end of the trailer, you know, they take to social media and they mention, hey, for those of you who are excited to celebrate, you know, Monster Hunter whatever 6 World 2 Paradise, here's a brand new, you know, quest available right now in the game for Sunbreak players to be able to get ready for this awesome new experience, yada yada yada. That would probably be the peak thing that they could do. Now, at the end of the day, that's just speculation on my end. I don't necessarily know. But what is certain for sure is that the quest is available if you updated the bonus update, and presumably this is something that we might end up getting more confirmation on as the patch for the bonus update and all of that ends up becoming live on PlayStation, Xbox, and Windows. If that data is available for the Amatsu Hazard quest on those consoles, then chances are this is just something that, for whatever reason, they're either going to wait until enable it to a later date, or the quest is fully implemented, ready to go, but they never really felt comfortable enough to release it for whatever reason. I wouldn't expect them to do that. Developers don't just want to put content there for free and then not actually end up enabling it. That's not usually how game development works. There has to be a solid reason for that. Now, at the same time, I do want to play devil's advocate to everything I just said right now. Remember that heading into the 4th free title update, Capcom, and we saw based on the data mines, Capcom was working on making an anomaly investigation version of Volcana, or a risen version of Volcana, whichever one. We knew there was something coming, but we just necessarily never really got to see it because ultimately all the game files for that stuff were just outright removed heading into the 5th free title update, and what we ended up getting was just a pseudo hazard version of Volcana, and that was pretty much it. They buffed it, they made it a cool fight, but, you know, a risen Volcana, which is something what we expected, or at the very least anomaly investigation Volcana, never really happened. This was something that we know actively they were working on because there were game files suggesting that in the data mines, but they never really truly implemented it because ultimately, for whatever reason, they didn't get it to work right, or they weren't too happy, or they, you know, they ended up, whatever the timing or the reasoning was, I don't want to presume on their end what it was, but ultimately it was scrapped. And they ended up just giving us a, you know, hazard version of Volcana, which was fine as it is, but it wasn't really what we expected. Even for Primordial Malzeno, remember that heading into that fight, we expected Volcana to be part of the actual scene, one of the cutscenes, or for them to have a turf war or something along those lines, but it never materialized. For whatever reason, it ended up being scrapped. So, you know, things happen in the development process. We don't necessarily know what is going on with this Amatsu quest. Maybe by the time that this video goes live, Capcom goes ahead and enables it. You know, they end up shadow dropping it or something as a celebration or something. We don't necessarily know. But what we do know is that the quest is readily available in the game right now. You should be able to have access to it, but for whatever reason they decided not to. And maybe it's just going to be a waiting game for some type of event to happen in the future, or maybe it's just a bugged quest. We don't necessarily know. I would be interested to see if there's some PC players out there enabling it to be able to see what it is that they see on this quest and finally get a conclusion to whatever happened to that hazard Amatsu quest that we were certainly looking forward to as part of the bonus free title update conclusion of all the quests. But what we ended up getting was just one of those super buffed up Scorn Magnamalo, super buffed up Primordial Malzeno quest, which I spoke about separately in another video. That quest in and of itself was a really damn good quest, a really fun one. Not very fun if you're like trying to do it online with randos because they didn't necessarily come properly prepared, and someone mistook my comment as like, well, it's a tough quest, people are struggling with it online, therefore it's too tough. That's not what I said. What I actually said was, you know, people should come prepared to every hunt, and that quest certainly required players to come in prepared, but you know, it is what it is. You're playing with randos online, that kind of stuff happens. It shouldn't be that much of a surprise. So would I love to see them to implement this hazard Amatsu? Certainly, for sure. Maybe only time will tell, but if they end up revealing whatever the next mainline game will be and we don't end up seeing this quest happen, chances are it will just ever remain something that is available in the game's files. Some you should already have available access to, but for whatever reason is not enabled through the typical event quest scenario. If you're brand new to my channel though, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.